1965 with a man who was 107 at that time. And he remembered the Bow Dyke evictions down in Clare. And he actually attended to watch to see what was happening. And he said it was brutal. So this was the English landowner treating the Irish peasants like dirt. And generally these kinds of reports haven't reached us because they've been edited out.
Yeah.
You know, we don't even look at the famine as a genocidal act. How many Irish children are told that between 1845 and 1847, the British conducted knowingly a policy which they knew would result in the death of around 1 million people, and that maybe 1 or 2 million more would have to leave. And many of those died leaving because the ships themselves were coffin ships. Now, how many of our children are taught this? No, because the guys at the top in Ireland follow whatever the British tell them to do. And it's not nice to tell Irish children that there was a genocidal policy conducted by the British in Ireland in the mid-19th century.
And instead they're going into school now and they're being told that they have to give their home away to black people because somewhere along the line, you know, their ancestors suppressed black people and took their rights away from black people. That's what they're getting, John.
That's right. And then you see, as you said earlier, you move into the other leg of this, which is the communist leg, which is the instrument which these Black Lives terrorists are using, or they're part of the mechanism and the impulse that is now being generated to bring communism to the world. Now, people in Ireland, again, to talk about, have not the faintest idea what is coming. You know, they haven't the faintest idea of what the Great Reset means. They don't even know the phrase other than as a conspiracy theory, because Joe Duffy told them it was a conspiracy theory, and that's all they know. The Great Reset will actually, the Fianna Fáil recently, during the week, tabled a bill, or announced that they're proposing a bill which will actually modify Article 43, I think, of the Constitution, which has to do with private property, to install in that a provision where people have a right, residents are, and I gather the understanding is after 4 months in Ireland, you will be entitled to a home of your own. That means that they will have to plunder the wealth, the property, the belongings of people who have lived here all their lives and built this country up, and whose forefathers have built this country up and bequeathed them properties that they were quite entitled to do. This idea is now coming under attack. You can hear it now literally on the wind, where they're now talking that actually this is a new principle, which I had really not heard in this country or even in Britain, but I began to hear it in Britain about 15 years ago, when during the Blair period, when Gordon Brown was beginning to mutter about this idea that there was something wrong, fundamentally wrong with people inheriting property that they hadn't worked for, or so supposedly. Now you see, this has been imported into Ireland. And when you think about that concept, that idea, what it's effectively saying is that those whose parents have given them the fruits of their own work have no entitled to get it. So it must be taken from them and given to people who have never contributed, or whose people have never contributed anything to Ireland. That's the idea of communism, you see.